1. CVS Caremark drops Zepbound, what it means for weight loss patients. 2. How to get GLP-1 drugs covered by employer insurance, affordable solutions explained. 3. Wegovy and Zepbound prices drop, but access to obesity drugs remains limited. 4. Major insurance changes to GLP-1 drugs, what patients need to know. 1. CVS Caremark drops Zepbound, what it means for weight loss patients. Imagine a scenario where a major player in healthcare decides to pull the plug on a medication that has been hailed as a breakthrough in treating obesity. That's exactly what happened when CVS Caremark, one of the top 3 pharmacy benefit managers in the United States, announced it would no longer cover Eli Lilly's weight loss drug Zepbound. But here's where it gets controversial. CVS attributes this decision to the rising costs of such medications, claiming they are straining overall plan budgets. GLP-1 drugs, initially designed to manage type 2 diabetes, have recently received FDA approval for obesity under brand names like Wegovy and Zepbound. According to CVS spokesperson Philip Lando, these drugs are significantly contributing to overall plan costs. By discontinuing coverage, CVS estimates that clients could save between 10% and 15% annually on anti-obesity medications, provided they choose not to include these treatments in their coverage. Zepbound, the brand name for Eli Lilly's tirzepatide, gained FDA approval in 2023 for chronic weight management in adults with obesity or being overweight and experiencing weight-related health issues. Tirzepatide had already been approved for type 2 diabetes under the brand name Mounjaro. In a late-stage study, participants using Zepbound lost up to a quarter of their body weight, making it more effective than Wegovy, another popular option in this category. Egregiously high list prices, set by drug manufacturers, according to Blando, are the main obstacle preventing wider access to these medications. Many other payers, including Medicare and various state benefit plans, have also opted out of covering GLP-1 drugs for weight loss due to their unsustainable costs. However, there will be exceptions for cases deemed a medical necessity, which will be assessed on an individual basis. As a pharmacy benefit manager, CVS Caremark acts as a mediator between pharmacies, insurers, and drug manufacturers, negotiating prices and determining which drugs are covered and which pharmacies are part of their network. Critics argue that PBMs need to reform their practices. Eli Lilly has previously stated that lowering drug prices for U.S. consumers requires intermediaries like PBMs to reduce their fees. Gastroenterologist and obesity medicine specialist Dr. Christopher McGowan believes that CVS Caremark's decision disrupts the care of patients who are already benefiting from Zepbound. We're seeing insurance policies override medical judgments, forcing patients to switch to alternatives that may be less effective, McGowan explained. Switching medications mid-treatment can undo the progress patients have made, potentially leading to weight regain or new side effects. McGowan is concerned that CVS Caremark's stance with Zepbound highlights a broader issue. Financial agreements between PBMs and drug manufacturers are increasingly influencing clinical decisions. This means patients might have limited options based on cost rather than what's best for their health. Eli Lilly has responded by emphasizing its commitment to patient access. The company has communicated with potentially affected patients and provided resources to explore alternative coverage pathways or medical necessity exceptions. Additionally, Lilly Direct offers a self-pay program that provides Zepbound at a discounted rate for those without insurance coverage. In essence, while CVS Caremark's move aims to control costs, it raises significant concerns about patient choice and continuity of care. This situation underscores the complex interplay between healthcare economics and patient welfare. What do you think? Should PBMs have more flexibility in pricing negotiations, or should there be stricter regulations to ensure patient access to essential medications? 2. How to get GLP-1 drugs covered by employer insurance, affordable solutions explained. Imagine a world where groundbreaking medical treatments, like the revolutionary GLP-1 drugs, remain inaccessible to most people, despite their potential to transform lives. These medications, designed to combat obesity and related cardiometabolic conditions, have reshaped modern medicine. Yet, for millions of Americans with health insurance, securing coverage for these life-changing drugs remains a near impossible task. This paradox highlights a critical gap in our healthcare system that demands urgent attention. For those unable to afford brand-name GLP-1 drugs, some have turned to compounded alternatives. However, these products lack FDA oversight, often relying on ingredients manufactured in Chinese facilities without the rigorous quality controls of FDA-approved medications. Unfortunately, this workaround is disappearing as the FDA has recently declared that branded GLP-1 drugs are no longer in short supply, effectively banning the sale of these unregulated alternatives. https://www.nytimes.com/2025/0for/health/16/for/health/Wegovy-Zepbound.html. The issue of affordability has sparked political debate, with former President Donald Trump recently criticizing pharmaceutical pricing. In a 2025 executive order, he demanded that drug makers offer U.S. consumers the same prices as those in other developed nations. Trump cited a personal anecdote about a friend in London, where GLP-1 drugs cost roughly $150 per month, compared to over $1,000 in the U.S. https://www.lartimes.com/science/40/2025-05-12/Trump-executive-order-30-day-deadline-for-drug-maker-to-lower prices. While no federal legislation currently mandates lower drug prices, there's a practical solution within reach: employer-sponsored health insurance. Most Americans rely on employer-provided health plans, which allocate funds based on shared premiums between employees and employers. However, few plans cover weight loss treatments, and doing so would likely require premium hikes. This creates a catch-22. Patients need access to GLP-1 drugs to address the growing crisis of metabolic disease, yet employers face financial barriers to providing coverage. Notably, about 88% of U.S. adults are metabolically unhealthy. https://www.unc.edu/posts/2018/4/208//only-1%-of-American-adults-are-metabolically-healthy-Carolina-study-finds, making this issue increasingly urgent. Interestingly, the manufacturers themselves offer a potential path forward. They sell GLP-1 drugs directly to consumers for around $500 per month, but only to those without insurance coverage. This pricing model, however, still places these medications out of reach for many. The opaque U.S. drug pricing system further complicates matters, with multiple intermediaries, like pharmacy benefit managers, taking cuts from the budget allocated by health plans. For example, a $1,000 drug might include a $300 rebate negotiated by these managers and a $150 discount coupon from the manufacturer, ultimately resulting in a price similar to the $500 direct-to-consumer rate. Here's where the controversy deepens. Why do we tolerate a system where rebates and coupons artificially inflate costs? Originally, these incentives were designed to sway pharmacy benefit managers and insurers toward specific drugs. But in the case of GLP-1s, where only two major options exist and clinical trial data is publicly available, such tactics are unnecessary. Recent agreements between manufacturers and pharmacy benefit managers have prioritized profit over patient care, favoring drugs that maximize financial returns rather than health outcomes. Eliminating rebates and coupons could simplify the system dramatically. If employers contributed a portion of the cost, say, $300 per month, the out-of-pocket expense for employees would align with global pricing standards. This rebate-free, coupon-free approach would also eliminate the burdensome prior authorization process, where doctors must justify prescriptions for expensive medications despite clinical evidence supporting their use. While GLP-1 drugs are highly effective, they are not without risks. As with any medication, the decision to prescribe should involve shared discussions between doctors and patients to weigh benefits against potential harms. To further incentivize affordability, the Trump administration could revisit the Biden-era plan to include GLP-1 drugs under Medicare, a move reversed in 2025. https://www.nytimes.com/2025//0for/health/Wegovy-obesity-drugs-medicare.html. Expanding access through Medicare would be a bold step toward equitable healthcare. This proposed system wouldn't solve all drug affordability issues, but it could significantly improve access to GLP-1s. By doing so, would take a crucial step toward reducing the prevalence of cardiometabolic disease and improving public health. The question remains, should we continue allowing financial interests to dictate access to life-saving treatments, or is it time to prioritize patient needs over profit? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 3. Wegovy and Zepbound prices drop, but access to obesity drugs remains limited. The cost of widely used obesity medications, Wegovy and Zepbound, is on the decline, yet dependable access to these treatments continues to pose significant challenges for many patients. Despite the recent drop in prices, for uninsured individuals, these medications can still cost around $500 each month, an expense that remains unattainable for numerous patients. Moreover, even for those with insurance coverage, the reliability of that coverage can be inconsistent. While these medications ought to be accessible, the real concern lies in their affordability and whether individuals can manage the ongoing costs, remarks Matt Majewski, a professor at Duke University who specializes in the coverage of obesity treatments. Healthcare providers indicate that these obstacles compel them to become more resourceful in their treatment approaches, although there is a glimmer of hope that prices could further decline in the future. Wegovy and Zepbound are among a growing category of medications classified as GLP-1 receptor agonists, which have gained immense popularity in recent times. In a notable instance of financial success, Zepbound generated $2.3 billion in U.S. sales during the first quarter of this year, making it one of the top-selling products from Eli Lilly. In the same vein, Novo Nordisk reports that Wegovy has approximately 200,000 weekly prescriptions fulfilled in the U.S., with first-quarter revenue reaching nearly $1.9 billion. According to the benefits consultant Mercer, an increasing number of businesses with 500 or more employees are expanding their health plans to include coverage for these injectable treatments for employees and their families. Additionally, Novo states that about 85% of its patients with insurance in the U.S. are able to secure the drug for only $25 or less a month. Moreover, some patients who also have diabetes may qualify for coverage of GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro, which are also produced by Novo and Lilly and are explicitly approved for diabetes management. However, it's essential to note that most state and federally funded Medicaid programs exclude coverage for these obesity treatments, and Medicare similarly does not cover them for the elderly. Even in situations where coverage does exist, many plans only cover a fraction of the cost, leaving patients to grapple with significant out-of-pocket expenses that can reach into their hundreds of dollars each month, according to Dr. Beverly Chang, who provides care in New York. Drug manufacturers do offer assistance to help mitigate these out-of-pocket costs, but such programs often have limitations. Just because there is coverage available doesn't guarantee access, Dr. Chang explains, noting her dual role as a paid advisor for both Novo and Lilly. Many employers responsible for healthcare payments express concerns over the potential proliferation of these drugs, especially if they become widely used over extended periods. As a result, some large employers have opted to terminate their coverage for these medications due to associated costs. Additionally, pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, are beginning to favor certain brands as they negotiate terms with drug manufacturers. For instance, CVS Health, a leading PBM, removed Zepbound from its national list of covered drugs as of July 1, choosing instead to endorse Wegovy. This decision required Dr. Chang to devise alternative treatment plans for several patients, many of whom preferred Zepbound due to its reduced likelihood of causing nausea. In an effort to prepare for prospective patients, Dr. Courtney Younglove's medical practice sends out a video link that instructs individuals on how to navigate their insurance provider's website to check for drug coverage prior to scheduling an appointment. Unfortunately, some patients end up canceling their appointments because they realize their insurance won't cover the drugs, she explains from her practice in Overland Park, Kansas. During a period of drug shortages, compounding pharmacies and other entities were allowed to produce off-brand, less expensive alternatives to Wegovy and Zepbound. However, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has determined that the shortage has since concluded, which should have signaled an end to these compounded alternatives. Nonetheless, exceptions exist for compounded medications that are tailored specifically for the patient. For instance, Hims & Hers Health provides personalized compounded doses of semaglutide, the active ingredient in Wegovy, allowing for adjustment of dosage levels to assist patients in managing side effects. Hims claims that these tailored plans begin at $165 monthly for a full year, requiring customers to pay the entire amount upfront. This practice remains a hotly debated topic, as Eli Lilly has initiated legal action against pharmacies and telehealth firms in efforts to prevent the sale of compounded versions of its products. Recently, due to the continued compounding practices, Novo terminated a brief partnership with Hims to market Wegovy, expressing concerns that these compounded medications compromise patient safety, as the ingredients are sourced from foreign suppliers that are not under the scrutiny of U.S. regulatory agencies. Hims asserts that they conduct thorough checks on all ingredients to ensure U.S. quality and safety standards are met and that a third-party laboratory verifies the accuracy of medication strength labeling. On average, both drug manufacturers are pricing most of their treatments at approximately $500 monthly for uninsured patients, a slight reduction from earlier pricing. Nevertheless, this cost still amounts to around 14% of the average annual income per person in the U.S., which averages about $43,000. There are several elements that might contribute to a downward pressure on prices in the future. Both companies are actively developing oral versions of their treatments, which could be available within the next year or so, potentially lowering costs for the existing injectable formulations. Dr. Younglove reports that some of her patients have successfully saved up to 15% by obtaining their prescriptions shipped from a Canadian pharmacy. Originally, these patients sourced their medications from an Israeli pharmacy until the Canadian rates became more competitive. She expresses optimism, predicting that such competition, coupled with the introduction of pill formats, will eventually prompt reductions in U.S. pricing. I genuinely believe we are witnessing the beginning of a price competition era that will lead to more affordable options, she states confidently. The Associated Press Health and Science Department is supported by the Howard Hughes Medical Institute's Science and Educational Media Group, and the AP takes full responsibility for all the content it produces. 4. Major insurance changes to GLP-1 drugs, what patients need to know. Imagine finally finding a life-changing medication, only to have it ripped away by bureaucratic red tape. This is the harsh reality thousands of Americans now face as major insurers overhaul coverage for revolutionary weight loss drugs. The controversial changes could upend treatment plans for obesity, a condition affecting 42% of U.S. adults, and expose deep flaws in how our healthcare system addresses chronic diseases. Starting July 1, 2025, CVS Caremark, the pharmaceutical middleman controlling prescriptions for 25 to 30 million Americans, will stop covering Zepbound, Eli Lilly's groundbreaking GLP-1 medication, while continuing to fund its competitor Wegovy. This decision forces patients like Tara Ekobaki, who spent years perfecting her treatment plan, to either switch medications or pay $1,300 monthly out of pocket. It's not just stressful, it's dehumanizing, Ekobaki reveals. After jumping through endless hoops to get coverage, they are pulling the rug out mid-treatment. But here's where it gets controversial. CVS claims this move pressures drug makers to lower prices, stating egregiously high list prices are the main barrier to access. Yet critics argue pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, like CVS Caremark are part of the problem. A recent FTC investigation found these middlemen actually contribute to inflated drug costs through opaque rebate systems. Are we witnessing genuine cost-saving measures, or corporate power plays disguised as patient advocacy? The human impact goes far beyond boardroom negotiations. Endocrinologist Dr. Jody Duche compares switching weight loss medications to changing a diabetic's insulin mid-treatment. These drugs aren't interchangeable. Patients might react differently to ingredients, experience varied side effects, from severe nausea to pancreatitis risks, or see reversed progress. Duche shares a chilling reality: that tiny insurance checkbox in medical charts dictates care more than medical expertise nowadays. And this is the part most people miss: the coverage changes contradict modern medical understanding of obesity as a chronic disease. "We wouldn't yank coverage for heart disease meds this way," challenges Dr. Tracy Zvenyuk of the Obesity Action Coalition. This stigma-fueled approach ignores decades of research showing obesity requires long-term management. The plot thickens with BCBS Massachusetts' upcoming policy. Come January, they'll stop covering all obesity-focused GLP-1s unless patients have diabetes, despite FDA approvals specifically for weight management. Their justification: a study showing 60% don't stay on the drugs long enough for results. But here's the counterpoint: new data reveals adherence rates are improving dramatically, with most patients now continuing treatment past 12 months. For those caught in the crossfire, the consequences are visceral. Ecobacchi's A1C levels, a key diabetes marker, spiked dangerously when forced off Zepbound, while others report regained weight and resurgent health issues. "These medications validated that my struggles weren't just about willpower," she emphasizes. Now that validation's being revoked. Pharmaceutical companies are fighting back through programs like Lilly Direct, offering Zepbound at $550 per month for cash-paying patients. But this raises uncomfortable questions: should life-changing medications become luxury items? And why are insurers resisting coverage for FDA-approved treatments that could alleviate America's $173 billion annual obesity-related healthcare costs? As you read this, ask yourself, is this truly about patient care, or profit-driven healthcare systems failing to adapt to medical breakthroughs? Should insurance companies override physician expertise in chronic disease management? The comments section awaits your perspective.